cats and kittens. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Tiger King, and not just because everybody else is talking about it, but because I actually really loved this documentary, and I thought that there were some really interesting characters that display the sign archetypes in a really obvious way. And in case you haven't noticed, I love to use popular culture as a way of understanding astrology, because astrology, the signs, they're all around us and we can spot them. The better that we look and the more that we understand a sign, the easier it is for us to spot the sign's energy floating around in the stratosphere. So this documentary was just surrounded by archetypes, and that's what I want to talk about in today's video. So first, I'm gonna give you a breakdown of the major themes that I thought were involved in the Tiger King, and then if you're curious, at the end I'm gonna be looking at Joe Exotic's chart. And we already have his grade A Rodden rating birth time, so his will be a correct, you know, with the ascendant and everything correct. And I'm going to be looking at Carole Baskin's chart too, and Doc Antle's, because I thought that they were the most interesting people in the documentary. Well, I shouldn't say that. I thought that there were a lot of really interesting people, but I'm going to get to those people as well. I just won't show you their charts. So let's get into it, guys. So one of the major themes that was present and prevalent in the Tiger King is the Leo obsession with big cats. So what is it with Leos and big cats? And I'll say Leos because it's really just Leo energy. I'm not talking about specifically Leo suns or Leo risings or Leo moons. I'm talking about Leo in general. Leo in general is a sign that likes the flash, the pizzazz, being larger than life. And because of this, they are attracted to big cats. And it's not just because Leo the lion, but really it's the extravagance that one would have to be living in order to have and maintain an animal of this like caliber, you know. And I don't want to say caliber because, like, you know, animals, I'm not like a speciesist or anything, but these, to maintain a big cat like this is very expensive. And somebody like a Leo King would be somebody who would be like, oh, I can afford it. I have enough money, I have the means in order to maintain this beast and live this luxurious lifestyle. So it's really the status that drives the connection between the sign of Leo and the big cat, because Leo loves being unique, and having like an animal of that magnitude is very unique. Nobody just has wild animals as pets. And the next major theme that I saw was, what is the deal with Pisces and animals? And let me tell you my theory. So Pisces is a sign that is all about serving and feeling for those that are disenfranchised, that don't have a voice. And who is disenfranchised and doesn't have a voice? Animals. Animals can't speak up for themselves. So really, Pisces is connected to animals in order to speak up for them and to defend them from those that would harm them. So that is really the connection there. And Pisces is really feels in tune with the emotions and the life in general of those that are disenfranchised and weak and have no agency. So again, animals have no agency. They can't do things for themselves. So Pisces is really connected to that line of work or to that energy in this life. Not only that, but Pisces has trouble with dealing with the harshness of the world and with people's just bullshit, like with people's bullshit. And animals don't give you bullshit. Animals are pure energy. So Pisces really enjoys dealing with energy as opposed to people's nonsense. So animals don't give you nonsense. Well, you have animals that are, you know, feisty and playful, so they'll give you that type of nonsense. But people are duplicitous. Animals are not duplicitous. Animals are pure energy. And this is why there's a connection between Pisces and animals. That's another one of the reasons. So the next theme that I found interesting in this documentary was the zoo, the GW Zoo, and it being labeled as a family of misfits. And I thought this was really beautiful, and this was essentially my favorite part of the documentary. And even though Joe Exotic is a character in himself, and Carole Baskin and everybody was really interesting, but it was really the zoo, the GW Zoo, that to me really symbolized a really 8th house sort of place. The reason for this, why I call it an 8th house place, if you haven't seen my 8th house video, you're welcome to watch it. But I think of the 8th house as a place for society's ugly things that people don't want to look at, that people don't want to talk about, that people are uncomfortable by. Those things, those difficult things, those taboos are in the 8th house. And the people who lived at the GW Zoo, this family of misfits, it was really people who didn't fit into society's traditional standard of beauty. So you had several people who were amputees. You also had women with masculine energy, you know, women that don't fit into society's mold of like what a woman should look like. I don't know her name, but she was a very masculine presenting woman, and that was really cool to see. And she felt accepted there, and the people who had, you know, missing limbs, they felt fine there with all their tattoos, and they felt comfortable in that family of misfits. And that was very, to me, it was very 8th housey, but that wasn't the only thing. Also, there's people with deep life experiences that aren't your common thing, which I associate that with a very 8th house thing. So Eric is the guy with the long hair. He was one of the animal caretakers. And for him, it was, I don't want to spoiler you if you haven't seen it, but he really loves the tigers. And at the end of the documentary, he talks about how Joe ended up euthanizing 2 tigers and how he went and shot them. And Eric was so heartbroken. And when he talks about this instance, it was really, oh my God, I bawled my eyes out, because I could feel his connection to those animals, and I could feel how much that he loved them and how much they were a family for him. It's all these rejects, these people that don't have a place in normal society, whether with their families or in just society period. They find this place of respite, and it's not really respite because, you know, they're working, but they find a family there. And specifically Eric, you know, with these animals. And he goes, those cats trusted me, so they could look me in the eye when they died. I was that guy that was right there. That means a minute to me, a heavy minute. So he felt so guilty that he couldn't do anything for those animals that Joe ended up euthanizing, killing, you know. And Eric was so pained by it because he loved these animals and they meant so much to him. And think about that pain and that guilt and that just dark, heavy, traumatic emotion that he's feeling. If you watch the documentary, you'll see how much he feels for them. And to me, that is a very 8th house thing. You could feel his deep pain whenever he's talking about not being able to protect them. It's very 8th house to me. When he talks about, he was just like, have you ever walked a tiger? Have you ever walked a lion? He was just like, they grow up so fast. And he talks about it like there's a sense of danger. And he talks about how it feels to walk a tiger, to walk a lion. To me, I'm just like, that feels like walking with death, walking on a, you know, what is those like thin wires that people do in the circus? Like, it feels like you're walking a very thin line and you could be gone. And that is so 8th house, because the 8th house is, you know, it houses death, it houses trauma, it houses taboos. And really think about how traumatic it could be to lose a limb or to just die, like the painful death of being mauled by an animal. And those people are experiencing that every day. That's their daily life. I talked about that in the 8th house video, about how people that are 8th housers, they experience these things very much in real life and every day. So I thought that was really interesting. And also, you also had some shady characters. You know, the 8th house can also have shady characters, kind of like, what's his name? Alan, the guy that was supposed to go kill Carole Baskin. We don't know his past. He looks a little bit shady. He's got a teardrop in prison. That means you've killed somebody. We don't know. You also have tattooed people living there. You notice that Joe himself and the people that he was surrounded by, everyone had a lot of tattoos. And maybe in now, like 2020, tattoos are more accepted, but they didn't used to be. Having a tattoo used to be a huge taboo. It was just like, oh my God, you couldn't get a job. I think it is still, your job can still make you cover up your tattoos. This is one of the things that are still like in the law books. My husband has talked to me about this, but yeah, having tattoos, even though it's no longer so taboo and it's more normal and people have visible tattoos, your job can still force you to cover them up. Don't quote me on that, but, and lastly, Also, another thing that was interesting about this family of misfits was the Aquarius element. You know, you have all of these weirdos, you know, hanging out and being together. They don't fit the status quo. They don't fit into society. And what is Aquarius about? Aquarius is all accepting. To Aquarius, the weirder the better, man. So it's just like this entire family is there, and the Aquarius energy is there. There's Aquarius energy, there's 8th house energy. I love it. So another thing is the polygamy element. I want to make a video about this going more into depth later on, but what's with all the polygamy? You know, Joe had his 2 husbands, and then Doc Antle had like 4 wives or something, and all his girlfriends, and all of this like free love. What's the deal with that? It's very Pisces and it's very Aquarius. Pisces is all about like all is love, man. Love is all, agape love, like having love for everybody and really transcending society's ideas of what love is. And Aquarius very much, they're transpersonal, they're more spiritual types of loves. And Aquarius is all about communal love and non-traditional forms of love and brotherly love. So combine the Aquarius and the Pisces and you have, you know, the perfect combination to have this whole polygamy stuff that they had going on. And I find that very interesting too. And lastly, Leos and cults. What is the deal with Leos and cults? And I'm gonna call this a cult because it was kind of hinted in the video, in the docuseries, that it was kind of culty. Like, they didn't call it a cult. They were just like, this behavior is kind of culty. So I'm just gonna read you the definition of one of the definitions of a cult. So a cult is a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. So do they live in a strange way, the people who lived at the GW Zoo, or the people who lived with Doc Antle at his like compound with all the animals? Yeah, it is kind of different, and it is seen to others as strange. You know, they live with these big animals. Doc Antle seems to be like dating all of the young women. Like, no one really understands what's going on. The girl in the documentary kind of like was just like, yeah, like it was pretty much understood that we were, you know, there to please him. And she said that she did not sleep with him. I believe her. So, but nonetheless, it was kind of implied that the girls were there for Doc, you know. So was Doc Antle's place a cult? Was Big Cat Rescue a cult? If you haven't seen it, but the thing with the t-shirts, that was kind of culty. It seemed kind of culty. They later on go on and explain what it actually means and how it is just to facilitate the process of training people. But nonetheless, it is a little bit strange. It's a little culty. It can be seen by the public as strange, and according to the definition, if it looks to others as kind of strange and you're in a small group, that could be kind of culty. So I'll give it to you. It's kind of culty. There's a woman in the documentary, and she talks about how she was basically like talked into getting breast implants by all the other women that Doc Antle like is dating. And that was kind of culty. You know, in cults, there's a lot of peer pressure to do certain things in order to make, you know, the master happy. And that is very much like that. So there was a strange element about the way that they lived on that commune with Doc Antle. But I will say, I will defend it in a way. The only reason why I'll defend it is because getting the opportunity to work with those animals at the level and closeness that those people got, that girl got, is really something that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do unless you had like a zoology degree. So for you to be just like a girl 20 years old out of like high school and being like, I want to go and learn how to train animals, I want to be an animal behaviorist, you would have to go to college for a really long time. And with Doc Antle, you get to just go and be there. Yes, you're gonna live like in a shed with a bunch of roaches everywhere, but for some people, it's really the opportunity. That opportunity very few people get. Few, if not no one gets that opportunity. People might even pay to have the opportunity to live there and to get to learn from him. So a part of me understands why they wouldn't pay the people who work there, because Big Cat Rescue doesn't pay people. Joe Exotic pays him very little because he doesn't have a lot of money. And people are just like, oh my God, how are they paying them so little? And I'm just like, Joe doesn't have a lot of money. Like, where do you want him to get this money from? They're not these operations that have a whole bunch of money. And it seems like maybe Doc might have more money than Joe. Yeah, probably. So those people maybe lived a little bit better. but still, it's just like you're an intern, essentially. You're kind of like an intern. You're there working, and the people who are there, they're not there for the money. They're there for the experience and the love that they have for these animals. So I kind of understand that aspect of it. So now let's go into the charts. And keep in mind the things that we talked about. Remember, we talked about Pisces, Aquarius, Leo, the 8th house. Let's see if we can find it in the charts. So if you look at Joe Exotic's chart, he has a rising Libra. And this was a little bit shocking because he's so shocking himself. I'm like, a rising Libra. But if you think about it and how well liked he is, it kind of does make sense. Remember that whenever you're looking at a chart, yes, you're a rising Libra, you want to look at the chart ruler. So where is his chart ruler? His chart ruler is Venus, and his Venus is in Aquarius. So that's where the weirdo element comes in. His Venus is in Aquarius in the 5th house. So that Venus is really leading his entire chart and his life. And it's in the 5th house of creative self-expression, of hobbies, of passions. So that's where he has Venus. That's a really, it's a spicy Venus. And with Aquarius there, maybe this could be one of the reasons why he's into like free, open love and polygamy and all of this stuff, because he has a very non-traditional approach to life, because that's his chart ruler, but also to love, because the 5th house is one of the romantic houses. So it's the 5th house, romance is there, and Venus is the planet of love. So he does have this like non-traditional way of seeing love and romantic relationships. And then his Sun is actually in Pisces. It's in the 6th house. Oh my God, this makes me sad. Okay, so he has a 6th house Sun conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. So Jupiter is very comfortable in Pisces because it's in domicile. And that Jupiter is helping out that Sun in Pisces, because the Sun is not that comfortable in Pisces, but that Jupiter helps it out because it's close enough, but it's not so close that it's being engulfed by the Sun. But in the 6th house, whenever you have planets in the 6th house, these are the planets that don't really get to shine. So you can kind of get like a chip on your shoulder because you don't get to show the things, your talents, your 6th house talents, because these are the things that you work at every day, that you do every day. It's like your grind, your daily grind, but people don't really recognize you for these things. These are the things that you just kind of do and no one really cares and no one gives you any praise for them. And he has his Sun there. And if you know that Joe is so he's so Leo-like, that kind of makes me sad to see that it's in the 6th house. So where is his Leo element? Where is all this Leo coming from? He has Mars in Leo, so he does have Leo in his chart, and that Mars is connected to the Sun because that Sun is ruling that Mars. But really, let's look at his midheaven. His midheaven is in Cancer, and I love Cancer. I'm obsessed with Cancer right now. He has a moon in Cancer, and his north node and his moon are really close to his midheaven. And whenever you see planets close to the midheaven and then you see the north node there, that is really, really an important marker of your life calling. Like if you have your north node connected to your midheaven, that means that's like what you're going to be known for. And Joe he really does feel very, very motherly. If you look at the documentary and you see the way that he takes in people who didn't have jobs and he gives them a place to stay, and he gives them work. He might not pay them a lot, but these are people that don't have any other options. And that was really, it might have seemed to others it was not genuine from him, but to me it really seemed very genuine on him. And if you know Cancer moon people or Cancer people period, these people really are very responsive to the needs of others. So Joe really is in tune to the needs of his people, and really to him it really does seem like the people that were staying with him in his little commune, like in his zoo, these people are his family, and he's kind of like, he's got like mama energy. And I love Cancer midheaven people because they emit that mama energy, like come here, like I'll love you. But remember that Cancer can be very, very touchy, and they're very sensitive. And if you hurt them, if you do anything to go against them, they will not forget. Remember that Cancer is very retentive. They hold on to things. So this reminds me of the whole beef with Carole Baskin. Like that leads me into the next chart. Let's look at Carole Baskin's chart. So remember, he's got the Leo, the Mars and Leo, it's in the 11th house, so that does connect him to society. That is really what he's putting out there into the world. I would have expected to see more Leo, but that Mars is really opposite that Venus, and that's his chart ruler, so it is affecting it. That's why we see more of that Leo, because remember, whenever you're looking at a chart, explore the different elements to it and connect the ones that are related. So his chart ruler is Venus, and his chart ruler is opposed to that Mars in Leo. So that's what gives him that Leo flair to his expression. And he's super Aquarius. Look at the way all the piercings and the tattoos and just being like a weirdo and a rebel. That's very Aquarian. He has it in that 5th house of creative self-expression. So Carole Baskin, I want to assume that Carole Baskin is a rising Pisces because of her face. She looks very rising Pisces, and she does have a round face. So if I give her a rising Pisces, that means that her Pisces moon would be in the 1st house. So that sort of makes sense to me, but that's just speculation on my part. What rising sign do you think Carole has? Whenever she talked about her childhood and how she experienced sexual abuse, and that really was just like, that seems like something that a rising Pisces could go through, because they seem like they wouldn't say anything. And you know, predators go after people who seem innocent and who seem like they aren't going to fight back and they aren't going to tell others. And rising Pisces people could have that, you know, appearance. They're angels, you know, she looks like an angel. But even if that's not her rising sign, she still has that moon in Pisces. Remember the connection between Pisces people and animals. They like to be advocates for animals. She has that Pisces moon. Her sun is actually in Gemini. And people want to be like, oh, you know, that shows like her duplicitous nature or whatever. To me, that just shows that she's really smart and she knows what she's saying, and she knows the way to position herself in order to, like, you know, stay on top. She also has that Mars in Leo. But for her, that Mars in Leo is connected to Uranus. So it gives her a little bit more punch than just the Mars by itself. Yeah, so we don't know her rising sign, so we can't know everything about her chart, but she's got the Pisces element. That Pisces moon really cares about and is really interested in the well-being of those who are suffering. So those who are suffering are the animals. So that's why her interest and her connection. And that Leo Mars, you know, we've said the Leos and the big cats. So now let's look at Doc Antle's chart. Doc Antle is a Scorpio moon. So I really see his Scorpio moon because he's so private. I really couldn't find a lot of information about him. But in case you were wondering, he also is a Pisces. He's got Venus in Pisces, he's got Mercury and the Sun in Pisces. So again, Pisces people and their connection to animals is always very strong. His Mars is in Aquarius. He's got Mars in Aquarius and Chiron in Aquarius. So the Aquarius element there. And not only that, but he's got his Mars opposite Uranus. So he's got, you know, that intensity from Mars and Uranus and that erraticness and that non-traditional element to his Mars and his way of doing things. And we don't know his rising sign. Maybe he's a Scorpio rising and that Mars would be really important for him. Could he be a Scorpio rising? What do you think his rising sign is? Tell me in the comments. I really want to know what other people think. I think Carole Baskin is a rising Pisces. Doc Antle, I don't know. Maybe he's a rising Scorpio. I don't know. Him, I didn't really think too much about it. But that Mars is definitely in Aquarius, so that whole, you know, having multiple wives and being open to that kind of energy, you know. And Pisces and Aquarius together, come on. Like, those people are into open relationships. Not that they're into it, but they're open to that idea, because to them, love is very non-traditional. Love doesn't require rules. Love is all encompassing. Love doesn't require rules, doesn't need them, and doesn't need like social structures. Like, they don't need marriage type of thing. And what else? He's got his sun opposite Virgo North Node. So there's a connection to him. So being an expert, being that Doc Antle is very important to him because, you know, he studied, I think it was traditional Chinese medicine, I'm not sure, but he studied some Eastern medicine. And this becomes really important to his life calling, which is his North Node, and it's connected to his sun, to who he is. So being that expert, that Virgo, that expert was really important to him. So that means that his South Node in Pisces is connected to his sun. That's interesting. So yeah, guys, that's all that I have to say about that. So yeah, that's all that I have to say about that. I just wanted to talk about the different charts, the different themes that I saw present. I'm gonna be making a video about cults, the astrology of cults, because I'm an 11th houser and I call myself an 11th houser, but I really just have Pluto and Venus there. But I am interested in cults a lot, and I see the appeal to them and why people, you know, fall into cults. And I feel inspired to make a video about that. So I'm gonna be making another video this week about the astrology of cults. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments if you're excited to see that video. What do you think about the documentary? What did you think? I think that it was also very interesting that Joe, if you watch it till the end, he started off kind of as an animal rights activist, and really the experience of being in that world kind of jaded him, and he ended up just being consumed by his need for money and for acquiring more and more things. And this is really interesting because Pisces people can be corrupted because they're so soft and tender and so pliable. So they could be transformed into the most beautiful light you've ever seen, the most angelic beings, or they can just be totally destroyed and crushed by just the harshness of the world or the cruelty of reality. So it's very dangerous to have that type of Pisces energy when you're dealing with, when you're surrounded by ugliness. It's very interesting. If you look at the charts of some serial killers, they have that stuff going on. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. That's the video for today, guys. If you liked it, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I put out astrology videos every single week, and I'll see you in the next one.